Ronaldo's work rate in the game was very impressive. When clearly, you know, he's going to have to chip in, otherwise it's not just his goals. He'll be looking at his work rate, Ralf Rangnick. I think the bigger problem was, as Jan said, was they looked a bit disjointed again, but that's more time on the training field is needed. And I thought just the likes of Marcus Rashford and one or two others looking a bit short of confidence or hesitant in the final third.
Yeah.
Just that usual quality I expect from him and others just wasn't there. It was almost like 2 or 3 touches too many or making the wrong choice. And I think that was enough to keep Norwich in the game. And listen, on another day, Norwich, if they had a better front line and were more clinical in the final third, it would have been a different story, but that's not the case.
Yeah, Nathan, it's interesting because Craig brought up Marcus Rashford there, and he kind of epitomised United's performance a little bit in the fact he was just kind of missing that little bit of spark, that little bit of oomph.
Yeah, he certainly was. He certainly was. And, you know, for them, they've tried this new formation, and I could see some positives that were coming from it. But, you know, when you find that team with more confidence, I think they'll be more dangerous. But as a guy who watches Manchester United, you always have this thought that they're capable of scoring. But they're not necessarily always, you know, delivering that. But I think in time, if this system is going to be one which they fully buy into and understand, I can see the benefits for it. Obviously, against Norwich today, it wasn't at its absolute best, and Norwich could have deserved something from the game. But I can see it. I think trying to flood the midfield a bit more and, you know, allowing people like Sancho to roam around a little bit with the threat of Rashford in behind as well to a certain extent. I think there's potential for it. But yeah, with Rashford, he's not at his best right now. But I think if he stays longer in the side, stays fit, I could see him getting back and scoring plenty of goals.
I'm not sure about
But you can see, Dan,
but
I was just saying, now just seeing the confidence, and if you use Rashford, I think there is one foot in the Solskjaer's kind of way that he wanted to have the game. And then Ralf Rangnick comes in with his kind of way of thinking. As Craig said, he hasn't had enough time on the training ground, but he got this 8 seconds rule. You have to win the ball back. And if you get the ball, you have to have a shot in 10 seconds and all that kind of thing. So you will have players now in the next month who will be a bit confused. What's going to do? How long will they use to do the counter? Should they keep the ball or whatever? So I think you saw some of that today. And I agree with Nathan. There is a base. There could be something else for them. But I think it's good for them that they play Norwich today.
I'll just go back to the system quickly. Systems are systems, and sometimes we can get too hung up on it. But obviously they have some importance. We'll see how this evolves. It's very early.
Right.
The 4-2. We actually played this at Celtic for a period, and I can tell you it did not work very well. It wasn't the first year I was there, but it was the third season. And you asked my former teammate in the middle of the park with me, Paul Lambert, about this formation, and I think you'd need to bleep out a few of the words. And Paul was one of the best holding midfielders around at the time. But when you've got 2 players, and I'm not suggesting these 2 are, and Bruno Fernandes and Jadon Sancho, but if you've got 2 players in there in this system that are not prepared to work and graft, you're absolutely stuffed.
Right.
Because we had a couple at Celtic, and Moravcik and Berkovic, who were super talented but didn't want to work hard. And when you played better teams, you got outnumbered and outplayed. And so we'll see how this evolves. There's a lot of attacking players in that team.
Yes.
On paper, that's an attacking side. That's very forward thinking. This looks good. But when you play the better teams, that can easily fall flat in its face if certain parts of the jigsaw don't function. And that would be my concern with the current way that they've played, which I'm sure will evolve.
Just before we let you go, Nathan, top 4 favourites, United?
I suppose you'd have to say so, because you're expecting them to be better in the second half of the season. And with West Ham being in the position now, that's literally only 3 points ahead of them, I think. Yeah, I guess you'd have to fancy them for that. Obviously, it's not necessarily what they wanted at the start of the year, but now it feels like it's the minimum requirement. So I'm sure they're going to be pushing to get that.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.